black people. It's all about the unity. There's nothing they can do with us, so ain't nobody moving me. Like the king, we make it plain and simple. Bringing knowledge and fire at reality simple. Reality simple. My black people, it's all about the unity. There's nothing they can do with us, so ain't nobody moving me. Like the king, we make it plain and simple. Bringing knowledge and fire at reality simple.
I don't think hell exists. I happen to believe in life after death, but I don't think it's got a thing to do with reward and punishment. Religion is always in the control business. And that's something people don't really understand. It's in the guilt-producing control business. And if you have heaven as a place where you're rewarded for your goodness and hell as a place where you're punished for your evil, then you sort of have control of the population. And so they create this fiery place, which has quite literally scared the hell out of a lot of people throughout Christian history. Mm-hmm. And it's part of a control tactic.
But wait a minute, you're saying that hell, the idea of a place under the earth or somewhere where you're tormented for an eternity, is actually an invention of the church?
I think the church fired its furnaces hotter than anybody else. But I think there's a sense in most religious life of reward and punishment in some form. The church doesn't like for people to grow up, because you can't control grown-ups. That's why we talk about being born again. When you're born again, you're still a child. The people don't need to be born again. They need to grow up. They need to accept their responsibility for themselves and the world.
What do you make of the theology, which is quite prominent these days in America, which is that there is one guaranteed way not to go to hell, and that is to accept Jesus as your personal Savior?
Yeah, I grew up in that tradition. Every church I know claims that we are the true church, and they have some ultimate authority. We have the infallible Pope, we have the inerrant Bible. The idea that the truth of God can be bound in any human system, by any human creed, by any human book, is almost beyond imagination for me. I mean, God is not a Christian. God is not a Jew or a Muslim or a Hindu or a Buddhist. All of those are human systems which human beings have created to try to help us walk into the mystery of God. I honor my tradition. I walk through my tradition. But I don't believe my tradition defines God. I think it only points me to God.
You and I are emerging people, not fallen people. Our problem is not that we are born in sin. Our problem is we do not yet know how to achieve being fully human. The function of the Christ is not to rescue the sinners, but to empower you and to call you to be more deeply and fully human than you've ever realized there was the potential within you to be. Maybe salvation needs to be conveyed in terms of enhancing your humanity rather than rescuing you from it.
Life is a startling and wondrous experience. And eventually, I think we're going to discover that God is unfolding through the life of our consciousness and our self-consciousness and is not a parent figure up in the sky. But I believe because I'm related to something that is not bound by time and space, that I will share in whatever God's eternity is.
Things that make you go, you know, these aren't jokes, these are thoughts, these are things that make you say, this may seem terrible, but my God, I didn't know you were black.
Lately, I've been speaking on how westernized Christianity has placed many of us under mind control programming. I've attended the same church since I was 13. I've sat under the same doctrine from the Bible since I was 13. I was very dogmatic when it came to the Bible. Nobody could tell me anything when it came to the Bible. Obviously, I have built a relationship over the years with my pastor and many people at my church. I feel like my pastor is a wonderful human being, you know, but I feel like I'd be rejected even if I was to open up to her about all the things I've learned over these past few months concerning westernized Christianity and its religious system having been stolen from the very ancient monotheistic system of the worship of one God. that did exist in ancient Kemet thousands upon thousands of years ago. And the fact that many stories in the Bible are from very ancient sources dating back to the first writing system in ancient Kemet, that is Egypt, known as the Metanetra, which in Kemetic language mean words of God, words of God. I feel like I cannot be honest with my own pastor at this point in telling her what I have learned, and the fact that I feel like this modern version of Christianity as we know it today is a form of mind control. I can't just tell her that the ancient Roman priesthood, which is known today as the Roman Catholic Church, had corrupted the very ancient monotheistic system that existed in Kemet and used it to place people under a system of control and manipulation. I can't just come out and tell her that certain stories in the Bible have been fabricated as well as plagiarized from earlier sacred writings. I love my pastor, I really do. You know, I think she is the sweetest person one could ever meet, but I do have a mind of my own, which means I'm not stupid. You know, I can think for myself, and based on the research I've done, I have come to the conclusion that certain things I have generally accepted as truth before is based on a half-truth and a half-lie. Now, I feel like my pastor is only teaching what she herself has been taught. She was brought up in the Baptist church as a child, so I don't have any negative feelings toward her. Right now, if I was to tell people, even in Friday night Bible study at church, that the name Jesus has a pagan origin, and this is a mythological figure created by the Roman Catholic Church that the Hellenistic and Roman world had referred to after a pagan deity named Zeus, and after another pagan deity worshipped by the Roman Emperor Constantine named Helios Christos, then I do believe that I would probably be shut down immediately, even if I was to bring up the fact that Jesus itself is a mythological figure. Okay, so I feel like I would be rejected by people if I was to just really come out and just, you know, talk about certain things that I have discovered over these past few months. I feel like I would be rejected by the people I have come to know and love over the years. But I'm not going to stay under mind control programming when I know differently, you know?
It messes your whole routine up. And that's where or why Bruce Lee came up with his philosophy of a martial arts style called Jeet Kune Do. That's Cantonese for the way of the intercepting fist. You should be ready, however a punch comes, however a kick, however you attack, you should be able to respond. You should think before the kick is actually into motion. That's Bruce Lee's philosophy. Bruce Lee says, be like water, my friend, because water can be a fluid, or water can be gas, or water can be a solid. Water is the way you should think. But in religion, you are a solid, or you are a gas, or you're liquid. You're rigid in your thinking. And that's why the black man and woman, the descendants of slaves born in America, that's why you still a slave, because you can't think outside. You're too rigid in your thinking pattern. Black power is always, we think the same way. All our history, we have not come up with nothing new. And all these other ways of thinking, the enemy has learned how to counter. And you're still doing it. It don't work. You still trying. You ever throw a punch at somebody, and all thing they do is deflect, because they know how you're going to throw the punch. getting frustrated, you keep throwing, you're doing the same thing you read in your mind. Change it up, uppercut, come back, move around. But under religious ideology, that's impossible because religion puts you in a box. So you can't think outside the box. It's impossible. Religion was designed to incarcerate the mind, not free the mind, and the rest will follow, as in vogue beautifully sung. People who are in prison trying to escape must have a fluid mindset, because you have to think of all the possibilities. You have to look at all the possibilities that you have at your disposal for escape. When you have a rigid thought in prison, you'll never get out because you're not looking at everything, all your possibilities. You can't even see your possibilities because, oh, that ain't going to work. That ain't going to work. See, in prison, we already know it's not going to work because it's been tried before. We are out here. We've been in black liberation, black conscious nationalism. We've been doing this for over 100 years or close to 100 years. And you still a slave. Why is that? Because you rigid in your thinking. You keep trying stuff that don't work. And you want to know why you like that? Because you really don't want to be free. Because you are actually comfortable being a slave. You really don't want to go nowhere. You don't want to try. Black folks become loyal to stuff. I believe in Jesus, and I'm going to die like that. That's crazy thinking. My mama was a Christian. My daddy was a Christian. My daddy was a Muslim. My mom was a Muslim. That's not you. This is a whole new day and time. But when you have a slave mentality and you are rigid in your thinking, that's what happens. Now instead of slaves with chains, now you have people that are slaves in the mind, which is worse. Because now you enjoy your enslavement. You enjoy your oppression. You don't want to leave jail. You want to stay in jail, especially now you got the internet, you got Xbox, you got pretty clothes to wear, nice car. You can talk about it, but you ain't going to be about it. And you can't be about it because your brain, religious ideas and political dogma don't allow you to think. So since you can't think, you can't see your reality. It's just like getting drunk, just like doing drugs. Same thing. We drunk off religion, drunk off certain political ideas, drunk off this fantasy. Some of us are tripping off Chris Dorner. He's a new black hero. We off in la la land, fantasy stuff. We have to live in fantasy because our minds are too incarcerated and we are too cowardly to make freedom a reality. So the only thing we can do is live it in our imagination. It's just my imagination once again running away with me. You ain't gonna run too far because you're caught up in a box. You can't think outside of it. Woo, man. Ain't no way a religious person can be a self-thinker. Impossible. Wasn't designed for that. Jot down your comments. Let's talk about it. This is your brother Ibn'rad. This was and is the Reality's Temple on Earth.
My black people, it's all about the unity. There's nothing they can do with us, so ain't nobody moving me. Like the king, we make it plain and simple. Bringing knowledge and fire at Reality's Temple. Reality's Temple. My black people, it's all about the unity. There's nothing they can do with us, so ain't nobody moving me. Like the king, we make it plain and simple. Bringing knowledge and fire at Reality's Temple.